Tonight we are wrapping up our Who We Are series, all right? And this is an exciting night because we also have something very special happening. We are kicking off our small groups tonight. Yes, it's okay to be so excited about that. I'm excited for that too. All right, so you know how on the first day of class you have to do those like get to know you things where you share something about yourself? You know those? Yeah. Who loves that? Sammy, you love it? Easy grade. Who like despises that moment? Me. Yes. Okay. So ultimately, I mean, you know that even though it's painful, the goal of this get to know you exercise is for everyone in the group to share a piece of information that helps the others to better understand them, who they are. All right. So whether you love it or hate it, it is an important way for us to get to know and to be known by other people. We are each created to live life with other people. And here in this community, we believe that being a part of a faith community is just one of the best ways to do that. So we kicked off our series a couple of weeks ago talking about being a part of the Big C Church. Who remembers what the Big C Church is? You know, back there? All believers, right? All believers in the world, okay? And what about the Little C Church? Each individual church. So this is one. Living Word Community Church is a Little C Church. And then specifically what we're talking about is this community at Fusion. So remember that a mission is like a roadmap. Remember when I opened up that roadmap and then I never did fold it? Somebody nice did it for me. A roadmap or a mission is like a roadmap, and it shows us where we want to go. And our mission is to encounter Jesus together. And as we do, we know his love and we follow him in obedience and we love him back and we love others as ourselves. And remember, by loving others, I don't mean feelings of affection. What I mean is a deep and unwavering commitment to the flourishing of another human being. So today we're going to continue to talk about the local church and how it is intended to be a community of people with a common goal, and then what that looks like for you to connect in a way that's beneficial, not just for your life, but for our community as a whole. So we're going to open up the book of Hebrews, where the author gives us a clear image of what it looks like to live in community together. We're going to look at Hebrews 10:24. It says, "Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works." So when I think about our community here at Fusion, I hope and pray that this is a place where everyone is able to be encouraged by others, so that together we are able to love and to meet the needs of the world around us. Now, if that were it, we could probably just pack it up and move on to what's next, but that is not the end of the message. The author of Hebrews points out something that can totally derail this idea in the next verse. It says, "And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near." So the truth is, it is really difficult to find and maintain the motivation for acts of love and good works without encouragement and support from other people who care about us and who love and follow Jesus. So that's why meeting together on a regular basis is so important. As we follow Jesus, we need to be surrounded by other people who will motivate us and who will encourage us in our faith. And on the other side, when we neglect meeting together, holding on to hope becomes so much harder. It's easy to get discouraged when we try to follow Jesus by ourselves. We really do need each other. Okay, before we get any further, I want to focus in on 4 words right in the middle of verse 25. As some people do. So let's not neglect meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now. So this, as some people do. Have you ever seen a sign with a warning that you don't think it really should need to exist? You've seen those signs? Yeah. Then you realize that someone must have done that thing that the warning is about, like some of these. Absolutely no food or drink, including but not limited to whole rotisserie chicken, Burgerville burgers for your friend who won't eat vegetables. Yes, we are also surprised that we had to make this sign. This sign was found in a vegan restaurant. All right, and how about this sign from a public park? Feed a pigeon, lose a finger. Oh no, is right. And then how about this sign at the Oakland Museum of California? Don't lick the paintings. You're bad. Okay, so these warnings are all in place because someone brought a whole rotisserie chicken into a vegan restaurant, because someone lost a finger feeding a pigeon, and someone licked a painting at a museum. So like these warnings, I think something similar is going on in the passage. The author challenges the readers to not neglect meeting together, because that is exactly what they were doing. They weren't making their community a priority, and it was making it more difficult for them to be motivated and to motivate one another towards acts of love and good works. And I think the author knows that we're better together than when we are on our own. And when we go for too long without hanging out together, we start to feel less and less like a community. So even though this letter was written about 1900 years ago, I still think that there are a few things that are helpful that we, if we're willing to recognize them and to apply them, it will benefit our lives. And the first one is to prioritize your community. This is a choice. And I'll be the first to admit that it is not always easy to build a community. I am slow to warm up, and this is hard for me. Getting to know other people means that you have to be vulnerable, and that's not easy. And in fact, there's a lot of times that it's easier just to stay back, stay on the outside, never get close enough to build real and lasting friendships. But easier is not always better, and that is definitely this is definitely one of those cases. Being a part of community that loves and encourages each other is a process, and it doesn't happen in one day. You're not going to leave here tonight and be like, my small group is my community forever and ever. They know me, and I know them. It's going to take some time to get there. And here in Fusion, we want to give you every opportunity that is possible to be a part of that kind of community that this passage is talking about in Hebrews. So that's why we provide time every week for small groups. And we truly do believe that these conversations is where community begins. Small groups are an incredible place where you can ask questions, you can offer your thoughts and opinions, and you can even dialogue about some things that you may not agree on. And that is where you have the opportunity to give others the chance to get to know the real you. But it starts with a choice, a decision to make your community a priority. And that means making the choice to be here when you're able. The second thing I think might be helpful for us to learn from this passage is that authentic community is unselfish. So if we look again at that passage, Hebrews 10, it says, let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near. Notice the emphasis on what each person can contribute to their faith community and not what they get out of it. Community is unselfish. You have to contribute something that nobody else does. And whether you have been here for years or this is your first time here, you have a role in your group. And when you choose not to be a part of it, everyone misses out. But when we all show up and we bring ourselves, everyone benefits, including you. So the whole group is better because each of you choose to be a part of it and make a conscious decision to put our community first. All right, so now what can we do? What steps can we take this week to make sure that our community here continues to grow into the type of community that the author of Hebrews wrote about? Community like that doesn't just happen by accident. It takes each person in your group deciding that this is the type of community that they want. So if that's what you want, and I hope that that's what you want, here are a few things that you can do to help make sure that your small group is this type of community. Make your small group a priority. Yours is probably one of the busiest generation of teenagers ever. There are more options fighting for your attention than ever before, from sports to theater to band to homework to jobs to volunteering. There are more than enough priorities that are fighting for your time and attention every single day. And then you have your friends, your family, your hobbies, your entertainment, and the list just never stops. Are you feeling that? You're feeling that? Yeah. So on one hand, that's awesome because you have some great opportunities, but it also means that you regularly have to make choices about how you're going to spend your time. And that's hard because sometimes saying yes to one thing means that you're saying no to something else, and sometimes you're saying no to a lot of other things. So a little asterisk here. Please hear me. This is not an attempt to guilt you into choosing to come to church instead of playing baseball or auditioning for an upcoming musical. This is not to guilt trip you. Actually, it's quite the opposite. If you have the opportunity to do some of those things, I want to encourage you to go for it. But as you make those choices to decide how to spend your time, I want to encourage you to make sure that your small group is also a priority. So be here if you can, and only miss when it's important. You know, we get it, stuff comes up, and if there's something that's important that's going on, we're not asking you to skip that important thing in order to be here. But remember that it is up to you to decide what's important, and the more you show up, the better the community will be. And if you can't come, a really great thing that you can do is to follow up. Follow up when you're not here. One of the best ways to show the rest of your group that they are a priority in your life is just to check in after you miss a week. Send a quick message and just say, I'm thinking of you. It goes a really long way to building community together. And then another big step that you can take to make sure that your small group is the kind of group described in Hebrews 10 is to choose honesty. So in a few minutes, we're going to dismiss to our small groups, and this is where you're going to decide between two options. Option A, bringing your full, honest self to the conversation. Or option B, hiding who you really are and pretending to be someone that you're not. I know how difficult it can be to allow yourself to be honest and vulnerable. But I'm speaking from my own experience when I tell you that when you are in a safe and caring environment, option A is always the best choice. I think it can be easy for us to want to pretend that we're okay, to pretend that that things are going well in life when maybe they're not. It's easier to say that we agree with someone, with their opinion or their thoughts, even when we really don't. Or we might hold our real thoughts and opinions back because we're afraid that others might judge us. And if you have ever felt that way while you're here, I want to apologize. That's not what we want. Our goal here is to create an environment where everyone feels safe and comfortable being their true selves. We don't want to make anyone feel like they have to hide to fit in. Fitting in means you have to change who you are. Think of like putting a square peg in a round hole. You have to change in order to fit in, and that is not what we want to do here. We want to create a sense of belonging. That's where you don't have to change who you are. You get to be exactly who you are, whether you're square or round, it doesn't matter, but you belong. So I want to be absolutely clear. No one's perfect. In fact, we are all very far from it. I will be the very first to admit that. I'm a hot mess sometimes. But what unites us is that we are trying to figure things out And we've decided that we want to try and do that together. But we can't do that unless we're honest with each other. But then the last thing that we need to do is to encourage each other. And this part is absolutely crucial, because imagine for a moment that someone in your small group decides to be completely honest for the first time. Yikes. How you respond as a group and as an individual will determine whether that person feels safe being honest in the future. So when someone shares something honest from the heart, I want to challenge you to decide ahead of time what your response is going to be. Never judging, never making them feel ashamed of what they've shared. If someone in your group shares that they aren't sure whether or not they believe in Jesus, a great response would be, I get it. And this is a safe place for you to figure that out. I'm glad you're here so we can do that together. If someone shares that they're struggling with being angry, a great response would be, thanks for being honest. This is a struggle for a lot of us. But I know we have a better chance of being less angry if we share how we feel and we work through it together. The way that you respond makes all the difference. And the author of Hebrews seems to think that offering each other encouragement is the way to go. And I completely agree. So let's do this together. Let's be a community of encouragement. I'm going to pray for you, and then we'll close out and head into our small groups. I think we have a song. One more song, do we? You tell me. We do. How am I doing on time? When was I supposed to stop? 20-ish. All right. If you're okay, we'll just head into small groups. Okay. All right. So let's, before we go into our small groups, let's all decide right now to make our time together a priority, to be honest, and to encourage one another. All right. Let's pray. God, thank you for this community. Lord, we just lift it up to you. God, I hope and pray that this is a place where we find a true sense of belonging, that we build real, authentic, and honest community. God, that this is a safe place for everyone who enters here. Lord, I pray that you would just stir in our hearts as we connect with each other in our small groups, that we would be encouraging to one another, that we would support each other, that we would lift each other up. God, that we would just feel ready to bring our true selves. God, we thank you for each of the leaders here that have committed to being here and to being used by you and to share their love of Jesus with teenagers. God, we are so blessed, and we have seen you do mighty and incredible things in this ministry, and we look forward to all that you are going to continue to do. We love you, Jesus. Amen.